Have you ever had one of those days on the ice? Absolute silence, a beautiful frozen landscape. But under the ice is a ghost town. You drill hole after hole and you get nothing, not even a nibble. What if I told you the fish knew you were coming, long before you even started drilling? What if the biggest mistake you made happened the second your boots hit the ice? Today, we are talking about the invisible force that's scaring away your catch, sound. And specifically, how fish under a thick sheet of ice can hear your every single step from 20 meters away, or even more. Stay tuned, because what you're about to learn might just change the way you walk on the ice forever. So, let me ask you this right now. Do you really think a little walking around can spook fish that deep? Let me know in the comments before we get started. For generations, ice anglers have focused on a few key things: the right lure, the right depth, the right time of day. We're told to be quiet when we're right over the hole, sure, but the general belief has always been that a thick layer of ice, maybe with some snow on top, is like a soundproof wall. We think we can drive our trucks, set up our gear, and walk around freely, and the fish below won't have a clue. This belief is comfortable. It lets us be a little lazy. We stomp our feet to stay warm. We drop our gear without a second thought. For years we've operated under the assumption that the real noise, the only noise that matters, is the sound of the auger. We've been taught to drill our holes and then get quiet. But what if that's all wrong? What if the real damage is already done by then? Let's start by busting the biggest myth. The world under the ice is not silent. Not even close. Water is an incredible conductor of sound. In fact, sound travels about 4.5 times faster in water than it does in air. Fish have evolved in this environment for millions of years. Their primary defense against predators is in sight, especially in murky winter water. It's their hearing and their lateral line, which detects vibrations. They are built to react to any unusual sound or pressure wave. A sudden, sharp noise doesn't just mean something's up there. To a fish, a sharp noise means a predator is attacking. It means danger. It means flee now, ask questions later. So, when we think of a quiet lake, we are only thinking about it from our perspective, standing in the air. For the fish, it's a completely different world filled with signals. Now, let's talk about the ice itself. We see it as a solid, thick barrier. But you need to start thinking of that sheet of ice like a massive drumskin stretched across the entire lake. When you step on it, especially with cleats or heavy boots on hard, clear ice, you're not just making a little crunching sound. You're sending a high-frequency vibration directly through that drum skin. That vibration then instantly transfers into the water column below as a pressure wave. It's not muffled like you'd think. The ice acts as a giant amplifier, transmitting that sharp thump or crunch of your boot directly to the fish's world. Imagine someone tapping on the outside of a giant aquarium tank you're living in. That's what every single footstep can sound like down there. It's an unnatural, alarming sound they are not used to. So, how far does this sound really travel? The 20-meter figure, which is about 65 feet, is actually a conservative estimate, especially on clear, hard ice with no snow cover. Think about a quiet morning. You can hear another fisherman slam his truck door from half a mile away. The ice carries that sound incredibly well. The same principle applies downwards. Low-frequency sounds, like a snowmobile in the distance, can travel for hundreds of meters underwater. But the high-frequency sharp taps from your footsteps are what really trigger a flight response in fish like perch, crappie, and wary walleye. At 20 meters, that sound is distinct enough to put them on high alert. Within 10 meters, it's enough to send them scattering for deeper water, or the nearest cover. You are literally herding them away from your spot before you even get there. Let's put this into a real-world scenario. You arrive at the lake, you park your truck, slam the door. That's strike one. You pull out your heavy sled, it scrapes and bangs on the ice. Strike two. You then start your long walk out to your favorite spot, your boots crunching with every single step. Thump, 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 for 100 yards. By the time you reach your spot, any fish that were in that shallow or mid-depth range have either hunkered down and stopped feeding, or they've moved off completely. you've effectively created a bubble of dead water around you with a radius of at least 20 meters. Then you drill your hole, the loudest noise of all, and wonder why you're not marking any fish on your flasher. The fish were probably there 30 minutes ago, but you announced your arrival like a marching band. Now let's consider the fish's point of view. A walleye is cruising a weed edge in about 15 feet of water. It's a low light period and it's actively looking for a meal. Its entire body is designed to sense the faintest vibrations of a small minnow. Suddenly it detects a series of rhythmic sharp pressure waves coming from above. Thump, thump, thump. This isn't the sound of a swimming minnow. It's not the sound of the wind. It's a heavy, threatening and approaching sound. The walleye's survival instinct kicks in. That instinct doesn't tell it to be curious. It tells it to either freeze and lock its jaw, or to slowly slide away into deeper, safer water. It's a simple fight or flight response, and for a fish, flight is almost always the answer when the threat comes from above. Your footsteps are broadcasting giant predator to everything below. But what about snow cover? Many old-timers will tell you that a good layer of snow on the ice makes everything okay. And they are partially right. Snow does act as a muffler. It dampens the high-frequency sounds. Walking on a foot of soft snow is much quieter than walking on bare, black ice. However, it does not eliminate the sound, it just changes it. The low-frequency thud of your weight is still transferred through the snow, into the ice, and down into the water. It might not be as sharp and terrifying, but it's still an unnatural presence. It might not send fish fleeing from 20 meters, but it can certainly be enough to make them cautious and less willing to bite within 10 or 15 meters. Snow is a helpful tool for stealth, but it is not a magical invisibility cloak. The weight and pressure are still there. Let's also consider the gear we carry. We are not just walking, we are often dragging a heavy sled. Think about the sound that sled makes. On clear ice, the plastic runners create a loud, scraping, vibrating hum. If you have metal runners, it's even worse. That continuous grinding vibration is a massive signal that something large and unnatural is moving across the surface. Then, when you get to your spot, what do? You drop the sled. Bang. You take out your auger and lean it on the ice. Clank. You drop your tackle box. Thud. Each one of these sounds is like a cannon blast in the underwater world. You wouldn't throw a rock into the water in the summer to attract fish, so why do we think it's okay to drop heavy objects on the ice right above their heads? So, how do we fix this? The first step is a change in mindset. You have to start thinking like a hunter, not just a fisherman. Your hunt begins the moment you step out of your vehicle. Every movement should be deliberate and as quiet as possible. This means closing your truck door softly. It means setting your gear down gently on the snow or a mat, not throwing it on the ice. It means walking with a purpose, but walking softly. Try to avoid stomping. Roll your feet from heel to toe, like you're trying to sneak up on someone. It feels silly at first, but it makes a huge difference in the vibrations you're sending down. The goal is to minimize those sharp percussive sounds that scream danger to the fish. It's all about minimizing your footprint, both literally and sonically. Let's talk about a practical approach. When you get to the lake, take a minute. Look at your spot from a distance. Don't just march directly to the X on your map. Plan your approach. If there are snow drifts, use them as your pathway. They will muffle your sound far better than the bare ice. When you get about 30 meters or roughly 100 feet away from where you plan to fish, stop. This is your new staging area. This is where you unhitch your sled, get your gear ready, and prepare everything you need to drill your first hole. By doing this, all the loud noises of preparation are happening well outside that critical 20-meter spook zone. You are preparing for the battle away from the battlefield. This simple change in routine can have a massive impact on your results. From your new staging area, you can then make your final stealthy approach. Carry only what you need for that first hole, your auger and maybe your flasher. Walk slowly and deliberately. When you get to your spot, don't drop the auger. Set it down gently. Then, drill your hole. Yes, the auger is loud, but it will be the first major, shocking sound the fish hear from up close. If you've been stealthy on your approach, the fish might be startled, but they won't have been pre-spooked and pushed out of the area by 10 minutes of heavy footfalls. They are more likely to be curious about the commotion and the new light, rather than terrified and already 100 yards away. You are introducing one loud noise instead of a long series of threatening ones. Think about the types of fish we target. Panfish like crappie and bluegill are notoriously skittish. They often suspend in the water column, and their survival depends on detecting predators from above like loons or cormorants. They are hardwired to be terrified of anything moving or making noise overhead. Your heavy footsteps are their worst nightmare. For walleye, especially big educated ones, they didn't get that big by being stupid. They are cautious. An unusual vibration might not send them rocketing away, but it will be more than enough to give them lockjaw. They will simply sit on the bottom and refuse to eat, no matter how good your lure looks. You can have the best bait in the world, but it's useless if the fish is too scared to bite it. Another thing to consider is the pop and crack of the ice itself. On a cold day, the ice is constantly shifting and making its own noises. Fish are used to these sounds. They are natural. They are part of their environment. The key difference is the rhythm and frequency. The natural sounds of the ice are often low-frequency booms or random cracks. Your footsteps, however, are rhythmic, thump, thump, thump. Predators move with rhythm. This is a crucial distinction. The fish can tell the difference between a random ice crack and a bipedal predator walking directly towards them. They know what sounds natural and what sounds like an approaching threat. Your job is to sound as little like a predator as possible for as long as possible. Let's get even more detailed with our technique. Some professional ice anglers take this to the extreme. They will actually use thick foam pads, like the ones used for kneeling in a garden, to stand on while they fish. They'll even lay down a path of them to walk on when they're in a key area. This completely deadens the sound of their boots on the ice. Is it overkill? Maybe for a casual afternoon of fishing. But if you're targeting big, wary fish in clear, shallow water on hard ice, it's a technique that can genuinely make the difference between getting skunked and landing the fish of a lifetime. It just goes to show how seriously top-level anglers take the issue of noise and vibration. Consider this experiment next time you're out. Find a spot where you're marking fish on your flasher. Now, have a buddy who is about 30 or 40 yards away start walking towards you. Don't tell him what you're doing. Just watch your screen. As he gets closer, especially within that 20-meter range, you will often see those marks on your flasher either disappear completely as the fish swim away, or they will sink to the bottom and hug the mud. It's a real-time demonstration of exactly what we're talking about. You can literally watch the fish react to footsteps from a surprising distance. Seeing is believing, and your electronics will show you the truth about how much noise you're really making. What about ice houses and shelters? A permanent ice house can actually be a good thing once it's set up. The fish get accustomed to its presence over time. It becomes part of the landscape. But the process of setting it up is a sonic disaster. For portable shelters, the same rules apply. Set up your shelter at your staging area, away from your prime spot, if possible. Or, if you must set it up over the hole, do it with as little noise as possible. Avoid letting the poles snap open and bang against each other. Every sharp sound is a potential problem. Once you're inside, the shelter can help contain some noise, but remember that every time you drop something on the floor, that sound is going straight through the ice. Let's talk about hole hopping, which is a very popular and effective technique. But how do you do it quietly? The same principles apply. When you decide to move, don't just stand up and start stomping over to the next spot. Move slowly and deliberately. If you're only moving 10 or 15 feet, you don't need to make a big production out of it. Lift your feet, don't shuffle them. Place them down gently. The goal is to move from one hole to another without re-spooking the entire area. Think of it like a chess game. Every move you make needs to be calculated not just for position, but for its impact on the fish's sense of security. The quieter you are between holes, the more likely you are to find active fish in the next one. This concept becomes even more critical during first ice and last ice. During these times, the ice is often thinner and clearer, and the fish are frequently in very shallow water, sometimes less than 10 feet. In these situations, they are extremely vulnerable and hyper-aware of what's happening above them. They can sometimes even see your silhouette through the ice. At this time of year, your sound footprint is magnified. A single clumsy step can clear out a shallow bay for an hour. This is when ultimate stealth is not just an advantage, it is a requirement for success. You need to be in full-on ninja mode when you're fishing shallow water on thin ice. Let's bring this back to a very simple idea. We spend hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars on sensitive rods, high-tech electronics, and the perfect lures to fool a fish's brain through its eyes and its lateral line. We're trying to be subtle and convincing, but all of that effort is completely wasted if we first terrify its brain through its ears. It's like trying to whisper a secret to someone after you've just screamed in their face. They're not going to be receptive to your subtle message. Your stealthy approach is the first and most important part of your presentation. It sets the stage for everything else you do. If you fail at being quiet, the rest of your expensive gear is practically worthless. Another example is fishing with a group. We all love to go out with our buddies. But a group of 3 or 4 guys walking and talking on the ice sounds like a herd of elephants to the fish below. If you're fishing in a group, make a pact to be quiet on the approach. Spread out. Don't all clump together and walk to the same spot. Give each other space. Once you're fishing, try to avoid yelling back and forth across the ice. It might seem harmless, but that sound travels. The vibrations from your voice can and do penetrate the ice. It's not as bad as stomping, but it all adds up. The less human noise you can create as a group, the better your collective results will be. So, the final thought on this is that we, as anglers, need to add a new skill to our arsenal: sonic discipline. It's not just about what lure you use, it's about how you get that lure to the fish without warning them you're there. It requires you to unlearn years of habits. It means being mindful from the moment you step on the ice. It means trading speed for stealth. It might feel slow and tedious at first, but the results will speak for themselves. When you start catching fish in spots that you previously thought were empty, you'll understand. You weren't fishing in a Dead Sea. You were just ringing the dinner bell for every predator, and the fish you wanted to catch were hiding from you, the loudest one of all. So, what's the big takeaway here? It's simple, but it's a complete game changer. The most important piece of ice fishing gear you have is a pair of quiet feet. We've established that fish can and do hear you from over 20 meters away, and that the ice acts like a giant speaker, broadcasting your every move. The big reveal, the thing that changes everything, is that your fishing day is often won or lost in the first 5 minutes, during your walk out to the spot. It's not the auger that does the most damage, it's the long, rhythmic, and terrifying approach of your footsteps. This fundamentally changes how we should approach the ice. We need to be hunters first, and fishermen second. Your stealth is your greatest weapon. Thank you so much for watching. If this video opened your eyes, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content that challenges the old way of thinking. And for my final question to you, what is the single biggest change you are going to make on your next ice fishing trip after hearing this? Let's discuss the new strategies in the comments below.